Welcome to Ancient Britain Myths, where history meets the supernatural. Tonight we journey through the darkened halls of Britain's most haunted castles, uncovering the eerie tales of restless spirits and ancient secrets. As you sit by the crackling fire, let the shadows dance on the walls and the stories of long-departed souls fill the room. These are the tales of headless drummers, phantom knights, and tragic figures whose spirits still roam the castles they once called home. So sit back, relax, and let the flickering flames and eerie tales transport you to another time. A time where the past never truly rests. The Headless Drummer of Edinburgh Castle. In the heart of Scotland's capital, perched high upon an ancient volcanic rock, lies Edinburgh Castle. Its towering walls have stood the test of time for over a millennium, guarding against invaders, sheltering royalty, and witnessing the bloodshed of countless battles. But the castle holds more than just history. It harbours a deep, chilling secret, one that echoes through the stone corridors to this very day. For centuries, stories have surfaced of a ghostly figure wandering the castle grounds, known as the Headless Drummer. The first recorded sighting dates back to 1650, when the infamous Oliver Cromwell marched his forces toward Edinburgh, preparing to lay siege to the ancient fortress. Just days before the attack, strange things began to happen within the castle's walls. Guards and soldiers reported hearing an eerie rhythmic sound, the unmistakable beat of a drum. Faint at first, but growing louder with each passing day. One night the drumming reached a fever pitch, and that's when he appeared. The figure of a young boy dressed in an old military uniform, his hands skillfully playing a drum. But there was something terribly wrong. He had no head. Witnesses were struck with terror at the sight of the headless drummer, and as they watched, he marched along the battlements, his ghostly presence signalling doom. Many believed his appearance was a warning, a harbinger of death and destruction. And sure enough, Cromwell's forces laid siege to Edinburgh Castle shortly after, changing the course of history. But who was this mysterious drummer? Some say he was a young soldier, barely out of boyhood, who had been executed for desertion. Others believe he was a child servant, brutally murdered within the castle, his restless spirit forever bound to the place of his death. His headless form a symbol of the injustice done to him. Over the centuries, the Headless Drummer has made several more appearances, always before moments of great turmoil at the castle. In times of war, in times of political unrest, his drumbeats have echoed through the cold stone halls, warning those who will listen. Even in modern times, there have been sightings of the Headless Drummer. Visitors to the castle have reported hearing the faint but distinct sound of a drum late at night, when the castle should be silent. Some claim to have glimpsed a shadowy figure marching along the ramparts, his ghostly form vanishing as quickly as it appeared. But the most unnerving part: no one knows why he plays. Some believe he's trying to warn the living of impending danger, while others think he's trapped in an endless loop, forever reliving his final moments. So the next time you visit Edinburgh Castle, take a moment to listen. You might just hear the haunting echo of the Headless Drummer still marching through time, his relentless beat a reminder of the castle's dark past. And should you ever hear that faint, eerie drum beat echoing through the stone corridors, you'll know the warning has been given, and something is about to unfold. The ghost of Lady Catherine at Berry Pomeroy Castle. Deep in the heart of Devon, hidden within the thick whispering trees, stand the crumbling ruins of Berry Pomeroy Castle. To the casual visitor, the castle may seem like just another relic of England's distant past. But those who linger a little too long, those who stay as the light fades and the mist rises, speak of a different kind of presence. One that chills the air and quickens the heart. For within these ruined walls, a ghostly figure roams, the tragic and tormented spirit of Lady Catherine. The story begins with two sisters, Lady Margaret and Lady Catherine, daughters of the noble Pomeroy family. Once they were as close as sisters could be, but jealousy is a dark and consuming force. Lady Margaret, driven mad by envy, turned on her younger sister, believing that Catherine had stolen the affections of a man they both desired. And so began a nightmare that would bind Catherine's soul to the castle forever. It is said that Lady Margaret, in a fit of rage, imprisoned her sister Catherine deep within the castle's dungeons, a place cold, damp, and suffocating with despair. No one came to Catherine's aid. Her cries for help were swallowed by the thick stone walls, and she was left to rot alone in the darkness. But death did not bring Lady Catherine peace. Her spirit remains haunting the crumbling ruins of Berry Pomeroy, a spectral figure that has been seen by many, always with the same mournful expression. They call her the White Lady. Visitors to the castle have reported feeling an icy chill in the air moments before her ghostly form materializes, a pale, translucent figure drifting through the shadows. Some claim to have seen her standing at the entrance to the castle's dark dungeons, her hands outstretched as if begging for release, her face twisted in eternal sorrow. Others have heard her weeping softly in the distance, a sound that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. But there is something more sinister at play here. Those who venture too close to the dungeons where Lady Catherine was kept have felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the very air around them is closing in. Some have reported feeling as though they were being watched, not by a single pair of eyes, but by something far darker that lurks within the shadows. There are whispers of a curse that binds Lady Catherine to the castle, a curse laid upon her by her vengeful sister Margaret, who sought to ensure that Catherine would never find peace even in death. It is said that Lady Catherine's ghost can never leave Berry Pomeroy, and that her spirit is forced to relive the torment of her final days over and over again. But perhaps the most chilling encounter comes from those who have felt the cold touch of the White Lady, a hand that feels like ice brushing against their skin in the dark, an invisible presence that leaves the heart pounding and the mind racing. So if you ever find yourself wandering the ruins of Berry Pomeroy Castle and the air suddenly grows cold, beware. For it may not just be the chill of the wind, but the cold, unrelenting sorrow of Lady Catherine, forever trapped within the shadows of the castle she once called home. And should you hear the soft sound of weeping carried on the breeze, take heed. For Lady Catherine's torment is not over, and her spirit roams, searching for a release that may never come. The phantom night in the haunted keep of Dover Castle. Perched on the cliffs overlooking the English Channel stands Dover Castle. For over 8 centuries, its mighty walls have guarded the gateway to Britain. It has seen war, bloodshed, and betrayal. But amid all the history that seeps through its stone, something else lingers in the keep, something not quite alive, not quite dead. The phantom night, a restless spirit clad in armor, forever patrolling the halls of this ancient fortress. The stories of the phantom night have been whispered for generations. They say his presence can be felt before it is seen. It begins with a change in the air. The temperature drops, a chill sweeps through the keep, and the very walls seem to tremble with an invisible weight. And then, from the depths of the ancient halls comes the unmistakable sound, the clank of armor echoing through the corridors, though no living soul is there. The knight is said to be a warrior who died in defense of the castle centuries ago. Some say he fell during one of the castle's many sieges, cut down by enemy forces as he tried to protect the fortress he loved. Others whisper that his death was not on the battlefield, but by betrayal. Murdered by one of his own. His body hidden deep within the castle walls, never to be laid to rest. It is here, in the haunted keep of Dover Castle, that the phantom knight walks. Some claim to have seen his figure, a tall, imposing man, fully clad in armor that gleams in the flickering torchlight. His visor is always down, his face never revealed, and yet the eyes behind that cold steel mask seem to follow you, burning with a silent rage. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a group of soldiers stationed at the castle during World War II. They were on patrol in the keep late one night when they heard it, the unmistakable sound of heavy armoured footsteps. Thinking it was an intruder, they followed the noise, their hearts pounding in their chests. The footsteps led them to a dead-end corridor, and there, standing at the far end, was the Phantom Knight. His armour glinted in the dim light, but where his face should have been, there was only darkness. The soldiers froze in terror as the knight slowly raised his sword, and then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished. But the encounter left them shaken, for they knew what they had seen was no living man. And the stories don't end there. Visitors to Dover Castle have reported seeing the Phantom Knight standing silently in the shadows of the keep, his armour covered in dust as if untouched for centuries. He does not speak. He does not move. He simply watches and waits. His figure has been seen near the underground tunnels, and those brave enough to venture deep within the keep have claimed to hear the sound of a sword being drawn, the metallic scrape against armour, followed by a deafening silence. But perhaps the most terrifying encounters are those when the Phantom Knight reaches out. Some visitors have felt an unseen force brush against them in the dark, a cold armoured hand, gripping their shoulder or brushing against their skin. They turn, but no one is there, only the lingering, suffocating sense of being watched, followed. There are many who believe the Phantom Knight cannot rest because his body was never found, that his soul is trapped within the very stone of Dover Castle, cursed to wander its halls for eternity. Others claim that he is a protector, a guardian of the castle, eternally patrolling its walls, ready to defend it from enemies that no longer exist. But one thing is certain. Dover Castle is not just a fortress of history. It is a fortress of spirits. So, the next time you find yourself walking through the ancient halls of Dover Castle, listen carefully. The clank of armour in the distance, the cold touch of an unseen hand, might just be the Phantom Knight, still keeping watch after all these centuries, and if you hear the sound of a sword being drawn, run. As the fire begins to fade and the shadows grow longer, we leave behind the haunted halls of Britain's castles. But remember, the spirits we've encountered tonight, the Headless drummer, the tragic Lady Catherine, and the Phantom Knight, they still roam these ancient grounds, forever bound to the places where history meets the supernatural. If these stories have sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for more tales from the dark corners of Britain's past. We have many more ghost stories to share, and many more places where the veil between the living and the dead is thin. Until next time, may the ghosts you meet be kind, and may the firelight guide you safely home.